104.7 FM, the voice and face of the region. I'm Jim Diedlow. This is my JED in the region segment. I just talked about the national circus for a little while. Yeah, that's what it is. It's the national circus. We have our local circus of politicians, and that's another story altogether. But the national circus, I'm sorry. I just thought of that. It's indubitably a pretty good idea. Hey, what do you have in terms of the traffic? It's rained all night long, so let's look. 294 around the city. Jimmy's going to put it up on the wall up there. 294 around the city is actually moving okay. 80 going east and west looks good. Bishop Ford, Dan Ryan, I'm surprised it's not worse with some standing water. Skyway, Toll Road, Borman, I-65, US 30, and Klein Avenue are all moving along pretty well. And if you guys have any traffic, you know how it works, 219-845-1100. Now, I'll tell you one thing that happened yesterday, and that is that we were able to get a phone call yesterday from a guy, I forget his name. He told us about a semi caught on the ramp from, like, say, let me see, if you were leaving right here at the Strachan Van Til Studios where the ironworkers pay for this coffee right here, and you went south on Indianapolis Boulevard and you kind of veered over to the right, they have this huge flyover over Indianapolis Boulevard. And on that flyover, which is banked pretty heavily, and once in a while when it gets icy out, I won't take that because I've slid on that and it's pretty high up. It kind of flies over and you get a pretty good look of Cabela's and the former Woodmar Country Club parcel of land. You get a pretty good look of the bus station for all the buses that go to O'Hare. You get a pretty good look at that big gas station on Indianapolis Boulevard, the Little Calumet River, all of that. That's if you're looking to the south. You look to the north, you get a pretty good look of at the mills and the refineries. But you get up there and it's kind of high. And the only reason I know what the look is, I mean, I've stopped on there. When the floods of 2008 were going on, I was able to go up there and look around and see all of the damage. And because Borman was closed and some cops took me up there, or some emergency personnel took me up there. And so it's pretty high up there, and then you don't realize until you're walking on it how embanked it is. And that's how you want roads around here to be embanked, because they catch the speed as you're going on. You're probably going 50 miles an hour. So it's banked to kind of be in that range where this is what the bank should be when you're 50 miles an hour. So but when you're going 10 miles an hour on that and it's slippery, it might be too banked is what was my feel on it. And that's just that's a Labor 41 guy just trying to do an engineer's job. Don't do it. I'll tell you where one road that should be banked is not banked enough, and that is Dead Man's Curve, and that is East Chicago Hammond, where you get off of Klein Avenue. You're going to the train station at East Chicago's train station, and it gets to, it kind of goes, I guess, a little bit northwest, and then the road turns right to the west and then parallels the South Shore tracks. Right at that turn there is where a lot of people have been killed. And I had a guy explain to me, I'm like, well, it has to be the embankment. He's like, well, not really. There's some it's kind of blind there also. And it's also kind of in a low area where you get some freezing, like it might be 35 degrees everywhere, but it might be 32 there. And so you get a freezing spot. It's not just there's not enough embankment, because people are going through there at 60, 65 miles an hour. And then the road turns, but the road's kind of flat. Well, anyways, on this road here on Indianapolis Boulevard to this big ramp, a curious thing, and I got a picture on my phone. Can you guys take this off my phone? Or maybe I probably should have just posted it. Al Hamnick gave me a gentle nudge yesterday. I can't believe I got a gentle nudge from a dinosaur in the sports riding world. But he's like, you know, Jim, you never post tweets. You should. And he said it to me on the air, and I'm like, gosh, you're right, I don't. And I get a lot of thoughts during a day. Let's see, yesterday I had I had like 7 thoughts yesterday. So I could have put up like 4 of them, right? Well, anyways, I was going south on Indianapolis Boulevard right after the show, and that guy had called up, and he's like, Jim, you got to see this. You know, it's really kind of weird. But right on the top of that flyover, a semi had fallen on its side, and it was a big brown semi. And I don't know, it's on my phone. You guys want to post it up there? Or are you guys kind of busy? Here, I'll see if I can send it to you, and then you could post it on the, here, yeah, I got a good picture. Jimmy, you want me to just email it to you or what? You know, I think I can just post it to, well, they'll think it was from today. So I'll email it to Jimmy Mullaney, and then he'll be able to do it. And the thing is on its side. Here, Jim, just take my phone. Here's the thing. It was on its side. And I was just thinking, I'm like, how did that thing not fall off of there onto the highway? And that has got to be a question that emergency personnel, of which many were on the site, that was kind of a really good break. I won't say a miracle, but a really good break that the truck that fell on its side didn't fall over the concrete barrier there right onto Indianapolis Boulevard, where we would certainly have had you know, a catastrophe on our hands. So anybody that saw that, I'm sure you guys were going, what the heck, man? That ramp was closed for a long time yesterday. And the problem was, as the caller yesterday said, was that people had gotten on that ramp. Then the truck somehow capsized. I don't know why. I don't know if someone was trying to pass them or if the embankment is wrong or his cotter pin came out, whatever. It fell on its side. All right, let's try to think of what exactly happened. And we're trying to get a reasonable prediction of what happened there on that. I don't know which camera can I walk up to here. It's this one here. Okay, so let's look at downtown Hammond. Did you guys listen to some of the Chicago radio and Chicago television? Then you've seen this. We don't have our own television news at nighttime. And that is one of the reasons that I'm going to this conference in New York City, is that I got a couple of appointments and they're going to kind of show us, like, I'm like, well, how do you do that? And basically the conference, the most important thing is like at 8 o'clock on Tuesday is all I really want to see. I'm going there for 1 hour and one appointment. And that is that the pundits that are in streaming video are saying that social media video is the new cable. So when Tom McDermott was in here, the mayor of Hammond, you know, we have this like on again, off again relationship, but I got to give him kudos because he jarred my thinking. And that is that he's like, you know what, you guys have really kind of like, with all of these videos you do all day long and all the sports and all these parades. All right, sorry. It's my. It's the Fed. All right, I can't sit down. All right, I got to stand up because once I sit down, this like. All right. Sorry about that. That's a side fat shuffle. He's like, you really created our own television network around here. And I'm like, no, not quite. And there's a couple of things that have to happen. But we're getting close, and I haven't really approached sponsors and advertisers, but I will tell you this, once they get on in the early area of this, you're going to win. And we've already established, like 4 million views of videos around here, and that just shows you that there's a huge appetite because you have to get all of your news from Chicago at nighttime. Well, anyways, the mayor did a pretty good appearance on some Chicago media, and it was about the fire in downtown Hammond. Evidently, they have a guy in custody that lit a small fire behind the Straub building, and that is all he is being held for right now. But there's a suspicion that someone may have set that fire of the Straub building. Remember, what did they make down there? It was like musical instruments, right? And they did that in, it's been closed, and then the city bought it, the building, I don't know, last year or so. And a redevelopment commission, who knows what they were going to do with it. But now there's basically an empty piece of land in downtown Hammond. And there is speculation that somebody set that fire, which if it was owned by someone, they'd be in a heap of trouble. It's like, we saw you in there 2 days, and 2 days later it burned down, and you're the one who burned it down. But if the city owns it, I mean, I can't see, that the arson likelihood goes way down, at least in my opinion. How's that sound? So, but it doesn't mean that somebody didn't set the fire like just some sort of, weirdo pyromaniac or something. That's still a possibility. Or someone who hates the city now knows that the city's redevelopment arm owns it now. But if you haven't been downtown Hammond, it's pretty big, big devastation if you've driven down Holman Avenue. What else is going on around the Calumet region? Like I mentioned, I'm going to the food bank today. I don't know what that is all about, but I do want to talk about the national circus a little bit. It really is infecting our minds around here. I got to tell you guys, I'm grateful to what's going on right now. I've thought for a while, I've shared with you guys, I went to Washington, D.C., I think like 3 times. And every time I go there, I go, it's like a country club. These guys are treated like rock stars. There's so many buildings. And then every time I got to write a check to the FCC for all the stuff that Facebook doesn't have to write a check for, I'm like, what's going on? Why am I supporting this? And why is the government so big? And why is it so cushy? And it's 2 parties. And why is the Democratic Party giving super delegates more votes than normal Democrats? What are they trying to control it? Is this party bosses? What about the Republican Party? What about the semi-racist slant of that? All of this stuff comes together. I'm not happy about it. Trump goes there, and I have some hope. Well, he's just kind of the one thing that has suffered during the administration of Donald Trump is the truth. And it's kind of okay to just lie. And you guys could say what you want if you're a big Trump supporter. What do you mean? Give me an exact lie. Well, I saw they had an independent review, and they came up with 3,000 probable lies. So I don't know. You want me to go down the list? We could. But that is one of the things that is part of the national circus right now. Now, how is that filtering down to us? You know what I mean? If the truth is suffering, and we're okay, like kind of living a lie, let's just be direct, like, you're gay and you're trying to live a straight life, or what would be another one? Let's see, you're living a lie of another type. You're like, well, anyways, let's take a phone call. See how Tom's doing. Tom, rescue me here, will you? How are you?
Not too bad. Thanks for taking my call. And as soon as you said the National Circus, I saw a bumper sticker. You're onto something, Jim. And it said, vote for a clown, get a circus. It says it all right there. Integrity is flushed down the toilet. And, from all the people that didn't like Bush, didn't like Obama, we didn't hear this daily conversation of this lack of integrity. And I mean from the top down. And like you were saying, they can throw lies out there or spin the truth, but when you call someone out on it, then it's fake news, even if it's true.
Yeah, I don't understand it, honestly. I think maybe we're just also desperate, or we're also like split up by social media, and something's going on. And I think that when we look back on this, people always try to predict what history is going to say. When we came through this period of our history, I personally think we're going to look at it and say this is a time when the truth really didn't matter as much. We'll get back to where the truth is the paramount thing, but people don't want to admit it because then they got to face everything. And then once you face everything, you've got to take action. And to some extent, Donald Trump and the Trumpers are doing a good thing. They're shaking things up, and we all have to look at what's going on. And there is too much giving away in the world, and we have too much regulation. And there's too much too many cushy jobs in Washington. I get all of that. The one thing I can't accept is the constant playing with the truth. And, you know, it seems to be accepted in America right now as part of the national circus.
Exactly. And at one point, and you could probably understand this, if a politician flip-flop, that was the big thing, flip-flop. That was like a death sentence for a politician. Look at how much flip-flopping has been going on a daily basis.
I can't. I mean, Tom, let's think about this, though. I mean, is there a little bit of gratitude? I mean, every day you turned on the TV, no drama Obama. That was his name, and it was like, gosh, this is boring. And to some extent before him, Bush was kind of boring. You know what I mean? Bush is like this partier dude, and everyone thinks he's going to be a loser. He turns out to be president, and he's like, man, I don't want to go back to where I was. Let's just keep it all straight and up and kind of boring. Same thing with Obama. And then you get Trump and all of his associates. They're giving us a show every night.
And unfortunately, it's not a good show. And integrity-wise, it's not good.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, Tom. I appreciate it. You know, Ryan, should we, to Ryan and Jimmy, should we change the name of my JED America to the National Circus? I don't know, man. I kind of like it. What's that? The what circus? JED Circus. JED's National Circus. Be right back.
Elections matter, qualifications matter, integrity and honesty matters, and most of all, experience matters. The Honorable Lorenzo Arredondo possesses all of these qualities. Make a wise decision. Vote for Arredondo for clerk on May 8th. Arredondo for clerk. Honest, trustworthy, dependable, and experienced. And there's no substitute for experience.
My name is Lorenzo Arredondo, and I approve this message.
Paid for by the committee to elect Arredondo for clerk.
This is Judy Mervan, daughter of State Senator Frank Mervan, and I'd like to tell you why my father is a strong choice for state senator. He fights for what's right for working families and champions legislation that upholds our democratic values. His strong voice stands up for workers' rights and creates and protects good-paying jobs. His commitment to working people earned him endorsements by many unions. State Senator Frank Mervan fights for the highest quality of education for our children because they deserve the best. He's a strong advocate for our teachers, which has earned him the endorsements of all teachers' associations. He's a strong voice for equality and justice for all our citizens. He fights for families to have the health care coverage they need. My father, Frank Mervan, has a strength of experience and is in touch and involved with all our communities. He is a state senator you have come to know and trust to build a better future together. Please vote for State Senator Frank Mervan, paid for by the committee to re-elect Frank Mervan Jr., State Senator.
You do have a choice for a new beginning. Vote Wally DeRose for Lake County Sheriff. He has an outstanding record as police commander, federal agent, and Army veteran. Integrity, honor, and a lifetime of service in Lake County. Paid for by the committee to elect Wally DeRose.
I'm Peter Kadick for North Township Board. Vote for strong experience. Endorsed by Mayor McDermott, the Northwest Indiana Building Trades Council, and unions, and numerous precinct organizations. The best is yet to come. Paid for by Kadick for North Township Board Committee.
Sorry, Kadick. But you see how that one, there's a little bit of a clip right there to get right into the right time slot. And what you get treated to is the last bite of my Rice Krispie treat from Starbucks this morning. I know you guys are proud. I got up plenty of time to get over and get a grande latte, which is my favorite. I think it's just like basically coffee or espresso and milk. And this is going to sound weird, but you guys, some of you remember Steel Toe Joe. I opened it up in the downtown area of Hammond. Had a little trading operation on the top level there, right above it. Had, I don't know, 5 traders in there with me. Except I couldn't do it down here because we had such crappy internet. Anyways, we couldn't get a latte. So I'm like, well, let's open up a coffee shop. So we opened up a coffee shop, and I bought this big machine that spits out all this steam, and oh my God, was it good. It was, so basically I opened up a coffee shop just so I could have this one drink a day. And now Starbucks has put one right down the way here, and so I very much thank them for the latte. I don't mind coffee direct, but it's kind of a little bit acidic on the stomach, and next thing you know, you're sitting there at about 1:30 in the afternoon, and I'm like, did I eat an ashtray, the contents of an ashtray on top of a White Castle hamburger this morning? Because that's what it feels like in my stomach. So if you cut it with milk, it's like so good. This is like, thanks God for making lattes. But anyways, let's take a look at traffic. 290, put it up there, Jimmy. I don't feel like, I know Jimmy's kind of busy right now. And I love ripping on Jimmy Mullaney just because he loves ripping on other people and he can take it. I'll put him in the Billy Baker category. I told you guys this the other day. Billy Baker and I have been buddies for 48 years. And, you know, we rip on each other a lot. And sometimes the people will be sitting there and they'll be going, God, how do you guys talk to each other and not come to blows? Because in the 47 years that I've been with Billy Baker and making fun of him and him making fun of me, he's never gotten his feelings hurt. And neither has neither have I. All the times you guys have been listening, if I ever gotten my feelings hurt, well, it's just part of growing up. Getting your laborer's work permit at 15 years old, that'll toughen you up a little bit. All right, guys, let's take a look. Where's the traffic? Thanks. 294, a little bit heavy as you get up closer to O'Hare, but maybe a little bit of a heavy spot as you go into the Stevenson. 80 going east and west, that looks pretty good. To Bishop Ford, starting to get a little bit dicey going into the Merch, maybe even a little tight spot around Dalton Ave. And I was waiting for this to happen because once the road gets wet, there's a number of people like Mad Mac who actually slow down. Mad Mac used to drive me to the Board of Trade in the morning, and I've explained it before, is that he would pick me up, and since I was a trading addict, I had traded some overnight, so I didn't really sleep during about 18 years of addiction to trading. And all I want to do is just kind of sleep on the way up. And from the moment we get in, he'd have the radio on, some talk radio. And then right on the ramp to getting on the expressway, he would be shaving. He'd have a shaver in there, a little electric shaver. And then he'd have a cup of coffee and maybe a donut, and all this stuff's going on at the same time. But even Mad Mac would slow down when it rains. The number of women, and Mad Mac was fond of pointing this out. There are also a lot of women that don't do their makeup in the morning that work in the city, and they're going to make up that time on the Bishop Ford. And I don't know how many times you'll see the little eyelash curler going or that little brush that goes through the eyelashes. I don't know how women can do such a dexterous, and some men that put the eyelash mascara on. That is such a dexterous endeavor. And how you can do that and drive down to Bishop Ford at the same time that you might be texting or changing the channel on the radio or drinking your coffee or even chewing on an Egg McMuffin. And so even all that's going on the Bishop Ford, since the pavement's wet, people tend to slow down. Once they start to slow down, you get some backups on the Bishop Ford, and you're starting to get a little bit of that right now. So we'll keep an eye on it, but watch the Bishop Ford and the southern end of the Dan Ryan, right? Skyway and the toll road look good. Borman, I-65, US 30 and Klein Avenue. Traffic brought to you by our good friends at Napleton River Oaks Honda, proudly serving Northwest Indiana with superior customer service. And what do you got in terms of the weather? Brought to you by our good friend. Can you put that up there? Are you busy? I love doing this, by the way. Are you getting your feelings hurt yet? No? Okay, good. There it is. Paul Mullaney, Jimmy Mullaney's dad, was in here the other day, and I'm like, do you mind if I just I don't treat him with kid gloves or whatever, and then I kind of treat him like Ryan, and which is really, as Kirk DeMino Smith says, it is really just a tradition of treating like young laborers or young clerks at the Board of Trade with just, hey, you work for me, now shut up. Hey, high of 75, showers and a heavier thunderstorm today coming back. So we got a little bit of a chance of something happening again at about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock today, and then later in the afternoon. Ryan, can you bring up Meredith Garofolo? on Facebook. And Meredith just got some sort of promotion, national promotion. Meredith thanked me, and I appreciate it. You know who she thanked? She thanked me and Tom Skilling. So look for that tweet or that comment. Meredith was at Valparaiso University, and she was a neurology student, and she came in here and said, hey, you know, I need something on my resume. And I'm like, all right, well, what do you want to do? She goes, all right, well, how about I call you with the weather every morning, 2 or 3 times in the morning. I'm like, okay. So she got really adept in her senior year at Valparaiso of going out and partying along the strip, you know, along the main square there in Valparaiso, coming home back to her apartment or her dorm room. I forget where I think she was in an apartment by then. And then calling us, you know, maybe just a little bit hungover, and calling us, doing the weather, and then going back to sleep for another 45 minutes and getting up and doing the weather again. She got really good at it. And so when we put it on her resume that she's really good at going out till the wee hours of the morning and then doing the weather, she had that kind of discipline. It helped her get a job in like South Dakota, and then she went to Santa Barbara. And then she just got something, some national, I forgot what it was. But I want to mention Meredith Garofolo as one of the people that went to Valparaiso. They have you don't realize that Valpo has a pretty good meteorology school. And I got to tell you that as soon as I finish this MBA over here at Purdue Northwest, I'm going to see if they would let me audit some of the meteorological studies classes, just so that we could do better weather here in the morning. But from Tom Skilling last night, not Tom Skilling, who's the guy? Brant something or other. Brant what? Brant what? I don't know what his name. Brant something on the news. There is a pretty good chance of some wicked thunderstorms tonight again, but there's also a chance that you might be in an area that doesn't get any. So they're going to come through, and they're going to be concentrated like just bursts. And then there'll be areas that are just going to be cloudy, and that's tonight. So a high of 75 today, gets into the 70s again tomorrow. But tomorrow's a good day. Clouds giving way to some sun and a high of 72. Saturday, a high of 75, mostly sunny and pleasant. And then Sunday, a high of 64. All right, let's talk about Saturday, okay? We have the run for the Runyon family at like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. That's going to be at Grimmer Middle School. And all you got to do is go onto the internet, put in, well, I'll get you the flyer right now. As we had Kathy Grimler, not Kathy Grimmer, on yesterday. Steve Runyon, is that his name, Ryan? Dan Runyon or Steve Runyon? Dan Runyon. And the only reason I say that is that when I was a kid, and I see Steve Runyon around from time to time, but I'm dyslexic, so I don't want to mess this up. But there's a Runyon family out of Hammond here. Paul Runyon, longtime roofer, good friend with Corellis over here. And you know what, before I'm all over the map right now, but Valparaiso University alumni are giving Meredith Garofolo the First Decade Achievement Award. So she's going to be coming in town to accept this, like who's made an impact in their first decade out of Valparaiso, and it's Meredith Garofolo. Ryan, make sure that you get a hold of her to come in here when she comes in to accept that award, okay? She should be on the morning show with it. She has really done a great job. We knew from the beginning that she had some major talent, and she would hang around the students. She'd ask me a ton of questions. And one time we had Doug Steffens come in. He's a national radio guy. And I said, well, Doug, what do you got any advice for Meredith as she wants to be a national weather person? And he sat down with her. So we'll have her on at some point. But anyways, the Runyon family here in Hammond is had an unfortunate situation. Also, as one of the Runyons, I think he's around my age, maybe a year older, was out at the beach in, I want to say it was West Beach, might have been Wells Street, one of the beaches, and there was an altercation, and he got shot and killed. And I knew him pretty well as we had played Shamrock football over here in Hammond. and there's a number of Runyons in Hammond. So I don't think this is that same family, but Dan Runyon was a teacher at Grimmer, and in February it was a really nice day, and everybody went out for a run. He was also a cross-country coach, and they were at a park, and he collapsed, and basically from that point was, he basically collapsed. I think he died officially a couple of days later, but just collapsed and died, and it was a horrible situation in Grimmer. Now they're trying to help the family, and this run is on Saturday morning. If you're starting the bug and you've been out running, Ryan's going to give me the flyer, and I'll give you some more information. Other than that, just put on Dan Strong, hashtag Dan Strong, onto Twitter or Facebook, and you'll find it pretty easily. And then also the Hard Hat outing is on Saturday, and that is the Hard Hat Invitational. That's at White Hawk. That is a 7:30 registration and a 9 o'clock shotgun. I was going to play, but I'll just be out there. I'll get out there at 7:30 and eat breakfast and just kind of glad hand for a little while. They raise money. It's the unions and the union contractors along with people who build stuff, and this is the trade unions. Some of the other unions ought to get off their butt and start doing this stuff. But I'll tell you what, the people that build stuff around here, they give back to the community. You can see it right here in this studio, the laborers, the carpenters, the iron workers, and the electricians. Some of these other unions, I drive by, like the steel workers and the oil union, or the people that work in the refineries and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't hear anything about you guys. Don't just take money out of the community. Give it back. And that's what the building trades guys are doing. Make-A-Wish, Boys and Girls Club, Down Syndrome, Chasing Dreams, they're all getting some money out of this. And that'll be on Saturday at White Hawk. Here on campus at Purdue Northwest, the reason I'm not playing with my union ne'er-do-wells is that Alexis is giving my wife, whom you guys used to hear on the air here. You guys know that she was a lawyer and is the owner here of WJOB, and she took a job on Judge Stefaniak's judicial team, and so she sits on the bench and doesn't come on the radio anymore, and doesn't go to any really go to fundraisers or anything anymore. She kind of just that's the life you choose if you want to be on the bench, which is where she wanted to be all the time, the whole time. It was a little secret she didn't want to share, but she worked for Judge James Krajewski back in the day, and from the first day that she went and got a job in his courtroom, she had this like little secret. She's like, man, I would love to do that one day. And well, here we are. Somebody's living their dream here, and she's going to tell about it in the commencement speeches at 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock over here in the PFR, the Purdue Fitness and Recreation. You can't go see it because it's the toughest ticket in the region right now. Jimmy, you know what it's like to graduate there, and there's just so many people that can't fit into there. All right, I'm blabbing. In terms of the weather, that's brought to you by Laborers Local 41. There was other stuff. Oh, NISA. NISA I'll be there also, and that is the second annual NISA. This is going to happen, and it's going to happen in a different way. It's a public-private partnership, and we're going to build this big center on Gary Airport, at the Gary Airport. It's not there yet, but we're going to raise some money. We're going to do it the kind of the old-fashioned way, where you get a grassroots movement, and then perhaps you get some government money involved in it. But it is Saturday from 3:30 till 8, $50, and it's at the B. Coleman Aviation hangar at the Gary Airport. And there's going to be all sorts of orchestras, all sorts of giveaways. I won a gun last time from Blythe's, which I still haven't picked up, and in one of the raffles. And Lauren Brown runs that raffle, so it's not all that done. Like Lauren Brown is like the biggest genius ever in orthopedic surgery for kids around here, but he's also my friend, so I can say this. His bedside manner and his just like general social directness, you know what I mean? It's not a cozy. So when he's doing the raffle, it's like 8, 5, 3, 2, 1. Get up here and get your gun now. Anyways, we got a ton of spots. Everybody stay on the line. Big truck is going by right now. Stay on the line. I'll get to you. I'm just going to take phone calls. I won't blab next break. Here we go. Hey, I got one for you. All right. 1 Mexican man, 2 Mexican senoritas 3 black guys and 2 white guys walk into a bar. What is it? It's the sheriff's race. It's the sheriff's race. You know, I was going to hit that. It's supposed to hit the spot there. It's the sheriff's race.
You do have a choice for a new beginning. Vote Wally DeRose for Lake County Sheriff. He has an outstanding record as police commander, federal agent, and Army veteran. Integrity, honor, and a lifetime of service in Lake County. Paid for by the committee to elect Wally DeRose.
John Salzader, Democratic candidate for North Township Advisory Board. You have heard me on these airways before talking about my family charity, its events, and the groups it supports. Now I've decided to run for your North Township Board. I am well qualified and ready to work for you. Elect John Salzader.
Approved and paid for by the committee to elect John Salzader.
State Senator Frank Mervan stands committed to working men and women and is endorsed by Indiana State Teachers Association and American Federation of Teachers, United Steelworkers District 7, Indiana AFL-CIO, IBEW Electrical Workers, Indiana Building Trades Union, Indiana Firefighters, Teamster Local 142, Northwestern Indiana Building and Construction Trades Council, Democratic Precinct Organizations of Hammond, Highland, Munster, Cherville, Dyer. Please vote for State Senator Frank Mervan. Paid for by the committee to elect Frank Mervan Jr., State Senator.
Looking to advance your career? Earn a master's degree in technology online in just 18 months from University Northwest. Our graduates tell us their master's degree in technology, leadership, and management results in promotion and higher pay. Call Purdue Northwest at 219-989-2966. That's 219-989-2966 to get ahead today.
Rush Radiosurgery deploys revolutionary technology in the fight against prostate cancer in just 5 outpatient treatments. With radiosurgery treatment for prostate cancer, there is no pain, no surgery, and you can go back to your normal activities right after treatment. Prostate cancer does not fight fair, and neither should you. For more information, contact Rush Radiosurgery at 312-942-4600 or visit us at rushradiosurgery.com.
No case is typical. Results will vary by patient, and there's no guarantee other patients will experience these results.
Thanks a lot to Rush Radiosurgery. You know what? At times, we gotta offer options. You know what I mean? And there's times when you get that diagnosis, you're like, "What? Prostate cancer? What are you talking about? What do I do?" Well, one of the things you can do is just go to rushradiosurgery.com and take a look at it, and just start right there, and then they'll go up there, and they've got a way of more pinpointing it. There's different procedures you can get done locally, and a lot of times it takes like 20 visits. They get it down to 4 or 5, and maybe a little bit less work. Prostate cancer is a killer and a horrible thing, and thanks to Ali Novotny over at in Munster, I'm on watch, and I'll be honest with you, Dr. What's his name, Brimwell or whatever out of Maryville. Every once in a while, it's and then, he's got to take some more tests and so forth. And I guess you got a little enlargement there. Then they just kind of keep an eye on it. And they don't really want to do major surgeries right away, but you got to look at it. If I'm not mistaken, and Cousin Phyllis, Cousin Patty's, right down the street here, just a few blocks from here, you go down north on Indianapolis Boulevard, and you go right over the bridge, and on the left is the Frogsville section of Hammond, and that is where my Polish side is from. And I remember going over there when my grandfather was dying. No, it'd be my great-grandfather, and he had prostate cancer, if I remember. Somebody, Uncle Danny or somebody, that's what it was, because I remember going in there, and we were going to go in there and talk to him, and he just was like, "Get out of here, I'm in so much pain," and he's screaming. It's crazy to see such a proud man just kind of reduced to just screaming and rubble near the end there, and that was a long rubble too. That was a few months, and they didn't have the pain management then that they have now. But anyways, I don't know why I just started thinking about that. 294 around the city looks good, and 80 going east and west looks pretty good, and then 294's got a little bit of tightness near the Stevenson. Bishop Ford's about average. You're going to get stop and go through 115th up to 87th. And other than that, it actually, isn't so bad approaching Jane Byrne. It's certainly been worse. And then the Skyway and the Borman I-65 are all moving along well. Thanks a lot to Napleton River Oaks Honda, proudly serving Northwest Indiana with superior customer service. And then in terms of the weather, brought to you by our good friends at CertifiedElectrician.com. A high of 75 today. You got a little possibility of another wicked thunderstorm coming through in the next hour or two. And then it should just be cloudy the rest of the day. And then in the evening, we're looking at pockets of heavy thunderstorm. I went out to yesterday to my nephew's track meet of Munster Wilbur Wright Middle School versus Kaler out of Lake Central. And just as about my time my nephew Al Dilo was getting ready to run, they put off the lightning sirens. And they made everybody go into these little huts there. I don't know how all those kids fit in there. It must have been crowded as hell. And I'm like, all right, I was riding my bike, so I just went and rode my bike around for like a half an hour. It didn't rain, so I don't know when they finally released the lightning alert. But at some time they did, because my wife said she was driving home at 7:30 and they were still doing the track meet. Those things usually end quite a bit earlier. I didn't go out to my nephew Jack's game last night because I just figured everything was moved back because of the lightning delays. So he had a 7:30 game, and I was already getting into bed. So sorry about that, Jack. But you see that we're in this storm season. You know, I'm not hearing any NIPSCO commercials about storms right now. Is there a reason for that? Is it we're just too busy with all the other stuff? Whatever it is. But NIPSCO, you know, will start running all the spots, and they'll, you know, tell you about, you know, where you can get your information on what's going on. But tonight we might have a little bit of that. Just kind of real heavy, lightning, crackly thunderstorms that come and go, and only in certain spots. And then tomorrow, not really any rain. It should be a nice day tomorrow, high of 72. Same thing on Saturday with so much stuff going on in the region. Everybody picked May 5th to do stuff. And then Sunday gets rainy and kind of cloudy, kind of a nasty day. All right, there it is. Let's take some phone calls. Ryan, pick one up. Let's go to Carl on line one. Carl, how have you been, buddy?
Good morning.
What's happening?
I wanted to be a name dropper yesterday morning when you had Al Hamnick on.
Okay.
The topic had to do with Hammond High. My niece, his name Christina Serban. That name, your dad probably knows that name real well. Her uncle was Dave Serban, who played. Not Dave. I'm sorry. John Serban. That played at basketball at Hammond High. Bad boy John Serban.
What year?
Well, it was in the 60s.
Bad boy John Serban.
Yeah, and your dad probably knows his father, Pete Serban. He was the golfer, the Hammond Times champion golfer.
Pete Serban. No, you know what? First of all, my dad married a Hammond High gal, but he went to Morton.
Uh-huh.
So he may or may not. I don't know any of these names. Here's the context of what we're talking about. Is that yesterday I had Larry Moore Jr. and Jermaine Boyette, the Hammond basketball coaches, and they're trying to raise $8,000 to get a shoot away, which is a contraption that you need for high school basketball. Hammond doesn't have the money for it, so they got to do it privately. And they're raising the money. Pete Corellis and Tom Kuhn, two Hammond High graduates, have stepped forward. And my point is that put it out to there's so many very successful Hammond High graduates. I can't believe that we got to come out here and beat the drum for money. You people that went to Hammond High, call over to the athletic department, give them your $100, and then call it a day. And if you're really wealthy, give them a lot more than that. And so that's where this comes in. But my point of that is that I did not know, Carl, when Coach Moore said this yesterday. He said Hammond High has not won a regional since 1954. And they've had some great teams during the 60s, the 70s, the 90s, and they never won a regional? Doesn't that surprise you?
Yeah, it does. But I was another thing about Hammond High is when Morton had the Four Horsemen, you know, they played their games at Hammond High, and I saw the game where they ended East Chicago Roosevelt's long winning streak.
All right, give me an approximate year.
Well, it was in the 60s. Ron Royer was the quarterback. Carl Creekmore was one of the halfbacks. They called him the Four Horsemen backfield.
Carl, what high school did you go to?
Pardon?
What high school did you go to?
I went to Thornton Fractional in Cal City.
So how do you know so much about all these guys on the Indiana side?
Well, I'm an old man, that's why. I used to listen to oh man, the news guy that was on WJOB in the 40s that went to New York.
Frank Reynolds. Frank Reynolds.
Yeah, I used to listen to him announce sports events on WJOB when it was upstairs over Milliken's.
God, you know what? I love when you call in and reminisce on those things. I know it turns off some of the younger folks, especially those that have moved from Illinois. But what bothers me is that the history that's in like your head and in many heads is somehow going to be lost, you know, because there's so much history. Frank Reynolds, remember he announced 8 games by himself, no color announcer, from the Hammond Civic Center on sectional. They would play, it was a 16-team sectional, and on a Saturday they would play 8 games. And part of the reason I know this is my dad said that his dad would drop him off over there at 8 o'clock and pick him up at like 10:30 at night. And he would just run around the games all day long, and he'd meet other kids from other towns who were doing the same thing. And he said it was some of the best days of his life was the 8-game sectional Saturday at Hammond High. Frank Reynolds, we have a picture of him announcing that day in the 40s when they did that 8-game sectional, and he announced all the games. And I'm making that part up about not having a color announcer. I'm just projecting that he did. But he did do games, which was a Guinness Book of World Records at the time.
Yeah, well, Lou Frechette was a name that WJOB too. He played the organ there at the studios in Milliken. And I knew him like a brother because I roller skated to his music.
All right, Carl, thank you so much. I got some other folks. I could do this all day with you because I'm starting to get this thing that I got to start doing like the history of WJOB, a little podcast. And I think that would be, that should be done. Thanks a lot, Carl. 219-845-1100. Ryan, give me another person. Here it is. Big truck, by the way. Let us go to Bill from Lowell. Bill, how's your fishing boat doing?
Oh, it's awesome, Jim. I don't know, you know, you're talking about all these activities for Saturday, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to go ride my motorcycle or go boating, do some fishing. Then I got to thinking, I'm going to go, wait a minute. It's Cinco de Mayo. I ain't doing anything.
It's also Derby Day. It's Derby Day.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, what kind of motorcycle you have?
I got a Harley Davidson Ultra Classic Limited. It's one of those like full dressers.
Right.
I sold my other one the other day, the last one. I had 2, you know, and the one was sitting, Jim, so I just sold it.
What kind did you sell?
It was a 2006 Night Train, real low miles. I got good money for it.
What'd you get for it?
$9,000.
Nice, because I had a guy. I had a guy text me yesterday that his wife is selling her Harley, and he's like, "Hey man, I'll give you a good deal on it." And I haven't really slept since because I don't know how to break it to my wife that I would love to buy that Harley. You know what I mean?
Well, have you ridden a bike before, Jim?
Oh yeah, I had one in college. I drove all the way around. It was a Cowie, but I drove all around the freeways of Los Angeles for years, and in Berkeley and so forth. So I know how to. I mean, I haven't had a bike since I was young, and I drove it everywhere.
Do yourself a favor and don't buy a Sportster because the guys are going to tell you you're riding a Skirtster because it's for women. Most women have Sportster. So if it's that, say thanks but no thanks. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest.
Okay, well, let me think about this.
It is a Sportster, isn't it?
You know what? Now that it probably is. Now that I think about it, you know what?
Yeah, they're gonna. It's a Skirtster. Women drive Sportsters. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if that's what you want to ride it. You know, I don't care if you ride a moped.
You're gonna call it. So if I buy a Skirtster, you're gonna stick it to me, aren't you? You would never ride with me.
No, Absolutely not. I'll come by and pick you up at the studios. We'll go riding.
And then you'll tell all your buddies, hey, I went for a ride with a guy on a skirtster yesterday. That's what you'll do.
No. I'm just telling you what to expect. I'm just giving you exactly what to expect. If you buy a Sportster, they're going to say it's a skirtster. That's a nice woman's bike.
What did you call for? You're not helping my cause here. Believe me, I want to get I want a bike, and I don't want to pay a ton because I'm only going to ride it a few times a year, to be honest with you. And then I got to figure out a way to get my wife and my daughters to acquiesce to the whole thing. So there's a lot of manipulation involved in this. And if I'm going to manipulate everybody all to this point, I don't want to wind up with a woman's bike. And I forgot all about that.
Right. You know what you need to get? You need to get you a soft tail.
Well, anybody selling one in the aftermarket, let me know.
Yeah, but hey, if you want me to buy that winning raffle ticket, I'll go pick that gun up. No problem. You know I have lots of guns, and I'm a gun owner, so you don't want it, I'll buy that ticket from you, Jim.
You know what? How about this? Let's make this deal. I don't need any more guns, okay? That's not, I won't talk about my own method of doing guns. I think that's not something I do. But if you go shooting, I love going out to the Willow Slough Kankakee shooting range there when you shoot into that big sand pile. And you're going out there, give me a call. I love to go out there and shoot other people's guns. So just give me a call and I'll go with you.
That won't be a problem.
All right, man. I know that's not too far from where you live. You could probably hear it sometimes.
I shoot in my backyard, Jim.
Really? You got room to shoot in your backyard?
I have a farmer next door to me. She said, shoot all you want. Just don't shoot across the field.
So what is it? I mean, is there an embankment or something you can shoot into?
Yeah, there is.
All right. Well, give me a buzz sometime. I mean, I'm.
All right.
All right, man. Talk to you. Thanks a lot. All right. 219-845-1100. Let us go to Jackie. Jackie, how's it going this morning?
Hi, good, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Do you mind, as you ask me a question or make a comment, did I eat a Rice Krispie treat or no?
I'm sorry?
Can I eat a Rice Krispie treat while we're talking? Or is that okay?
You can.
All right, go ahead.
No problem.
All right.
I just wanted to remind you, we have another local meteorologist, Ginger Z. She graduated from Valpo. She's on Good Morning America.
Ginger Z went to Valpo?
Oh, yes.
I did not know. Check that out, will you?
Yes, she did.
We're going to do a Jackie fact check.
Oh, gosh. And I'm right.
Brian already nodded. He already knows. He's a big
cool.
Ginger Z fan.
Oh, I am too.
Ginger Z went to Valpo?
She did. She was there at the same time my son was there.
Really?
Yeah. Too bad he didn't hook up with her. But anywho.
Did you use the word hook up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like that word. Yeah, Ginger. Well, all right. I'm gonna have to start watching Ginger Z with just a little bit more zealousness. Ginger Renee Colonomus, known as her pseudonym Ginger Z, is an American television personality. She is a chief meteorologist for ABC.
Yeah.
Previously, she was their weekend meteorologist, and
she's so pretty.
Yeah, she went to Valparaiso University.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Jackie, for that tidbit, because
you're welcome.
Thank you.
And we're from Frogsville, so we got to stick together. And also Lauren Brown, yes, he's a very good doctor.
What about his bedside manner?
Well, I know he did a very good operation on my son ACL.
You didn't answer my question. We all know he is one of the
bedside
top.
manner, yeah, that could be.
Yeah, he is one of the top orthopedic surgeons in America, and when he finally retires, it will be a great loss to the profession.
I know.
But when you talk about Lauren's social skills and his medical skills, they're not on the same level.
I totally agree.
All right, man. Hang up, and thanks a lot, Jackie.
Love
I appreciate it.
Okay, bye.
219-845-1100. Let's see how MX is doing. MX.
Yeah, your friend hit a nerve, Jed.
Kind of nerve?
About the Sportster. Because I have one.
Got a skirtster?
And I've been in over 500 dirt bike races, A-class, and I probably won 350 of them. and I took 27th in the nation in 1997 out of 1,500 riders. And the only reason I didn't win the state, I took a 3 and a 2, and I didn't go to the last race. I went to the Illinois state race and took a 3rd. Because the top riders, but when somebody says that you're a woman if you ride a Sportster, I'll take him out Sunday and I'll ride dirt bikes with him. I'll show him what kind of woman I am. I guarantee if he comes home and he teases me about that, he'll be real sore. You know what I mean? I really like my Sportster though, Jed. Really like it a bunch. It's a nice round town bike, but sissies ride Sportsters. Evel Knievel jumped with the Sportster, so you're going to call Evel Knievel a sissy? All those jumps Knievel made was on a 750 Sportster, and right now they call them 883s and 1200s, so Evel Knievel was no sissy. Maybe this new yuppie generation thinks Evel Knievel was a sissy, but he wasn't on his Sportster. So there that goes. How about that?
You know, people don't realize, I mean, there's just a lot of people that hate your guts because of the political cartoons that you do on the internet. And there's a lot of people that somehow get to see them that aren't member of your group. I don't really know how Facebook works that well, but a lot of people will comment on it, and then I'll say, what, are you in his group? No, I just saw it. So they hate your guts, but there's no denying that you have talent in 2 areas. One of them is in your political cartoons, and I have a number, I had 2 people come up to me at the Business Hall of Fame Awards on Tuesday and just basically saying, well, you know, how do you take it that MX is always putting up very hairy pictures of you, especially that picture of you as a hairy baby? And I'm like, you know, I'm okay with it, but my family, there's a number of family members, Rexes and Podcoles and so forth, that you better watch your back, my friend. And the second thing is, MX was a international caliber dirt bike racer, and the reason I know this is that my nephews are the same thing, and one of them's in the Masters, and Keith is now running. Keith or Kevin? Kevin is riding in the Masters level and is right up there as one of the top racers in America. So, right. But when they were younger, they had one hero in the dirt bike racing scene around here, and you're listening to him right now here on the radio, and that's MX. And we got that one picture where MX 20 feet in the air on a jump, and Keith and Kevin are sitting on the ground looking up at you like they're looking up at God himself. That's a picture worth a zillion words there, and it tells the whole story. But still, I just hate your guts sometimes, just so you know.
Well, that's good. And you know what? When I was a kid, I used to stand on a seat. It's my profile picture in my cover photo. In my cover photo, I stood on a seat and did a wheelie for a whole block. That's in there. And there's a picture of Redbud where I'm jumping probably 20 feet in the air. You know, it's highly competitive, Jed. But I never talked about it because my dad said, do your talking out on the track. So if I came home and I was angered from Sunday, I wouldn't say nothing. And then when I got out there the next Sunday, it made me very competitive. But as far as calling somebody it's funny. It's funny that somebody would say you're a sissy if you drive a Sportster. I just bought a brand new 2018.
All right, hold on a second. We're going to have this motorcycle talk in another time.
Yeah, well,
quick question.
All right, I'm done.
No, quick question. Looks like Stormy Daniels did get money from Donald Trump. It's getting closer to him admitting that he had the affair with Stormy Daniels. How do you feel about that?
Well, I've got a new Mimi out. You know, the Boy Scouts, changing the name. Mm-hmm. She's a Boy Scout, and it says Boy Scouts has a whole new meaning. That was my Mimi for this morning.
I don't want to know. It sounds sexual. I'll see you. Bye. 219-845-1100. It is political season. I want to thank each and every candidate that came down here with their checkbook. We hit right about where we wanted to get to. We don't take clients during May. Or we don't really, I mean, we still take them, but we're not out. You know, we try to push everybody back to like June or July so that everyone could get played. And I just want to thank. I know that this is still the voice and face of the region. And you want to get elected, you got to put your spots on. And thank you so much to all the candidates that did that.
Hello, my name is Patrick O'Rourke. On behalf of the Hammond Teachers Federation, I am proud to support Mara Candelier Reardon for 12th District State Representative. She is a proven fighter for teachers and students in Northwest Indiana. On May 8th, please join me in casting your vote for Mara Candelier Reardon for State Representative District 12.
Paid for by citizens for Mara Candelaria Reardon.
Hi, Economics Dr. Jess Ortiz wants your vote. We continue to have more abandoned houses than homeless. This can happen to anyone, including children. It is a waste of resources that lowers property value. I, Ortiz, pledge to resolve this ethical, legal, and economic mandate through improved policy without additional taxes. God willing, leave no homeless behind. Vote.
Paid for by Committee to Elect Dr. Jesus Louis Ortiz, North Township Advisory Board.
Is Indiana better off than it was 40 years ago? I'm Father Mark Kurowski, a Democrat, running for state senate. It's time for a new direction in Indiana. It's time for a state senator who fights for regular Hoosiers, fully funded and safe schools, for union labor, for roads and bridges, for a foster care system that works. We have the money in the rainy day fund, and it's pouring down. If you think it's time for a state senator who will fight for you, then vote Mark Kurowski for state senate on May 8th.
Paid for by the Committee to Elect Mark Kurowski.
Loyalty, hard work, self-reliance, genuineness, and gratitude. These values make us who we are. They're here in Indiana, and they're here in Indiana's grocery store, Strachan Van Til. We're proud to serve the people who have put us at the heart of their neighborhoods. We're dedicated to the Indiana values we share and to providing an experience that will make you dedicated to us. Strachan Van Til is Indiana's grocery store, and we're Indiana made.
I'm Peter Kadick for North Township Board. Vote for strong experience. Endorsed by Mayor McDermott, the Northwest Indiana Building Trades Council and unions, and numerous precinct organizations. The best is yet to come. Paid for by Kadick for North Township Board Committee.
On May 8th, vote for Democrat Andrew Silvestrowitz for Lake County Clerk of Circuit Courts. Andrew is a qualified Democrat and has 12 years of experience as a councilman in Maryville at every facet of government. Make your vote count with Andrew Silvestrowitz for Clerk of Circuit Courts. Paid for by Committee to Elect Democrat Andrew Silvestrowitz.
I am Andrew Silvestrowitz, and I approve this message.
Hey, Megan. Yes, Ellen? When I say the words funny, good-looking, and region news, what do you think of?
I think of JED in the morning at 5:30 a.m. right here on WJOB.
There you go. Sorry about that.
Hello again, everybody. This is Harry, and you're listening to WJOB AM 1230 and 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana. Holy cow.
Sorry about that. I didn't want you guys to, I got this wireless microphone on, and I didn't want you guys to hear the toilet flushing or the urinal flushing down, and so we had a little technical snafu. Can you put up this traffic there, please? I know you're busy. 294 around the city is a little tight going into the Stephen. 80 going east and west to Joliet. It's actually pretty wide open. It's pretty wet out there. You guys got to put that in there. You got a little bit of slowness from Cicero on up through to Stevenson on 294. Bishop Ford's getting some tight spots. A little bit around Dalton, you get a little slowdown. Over the bridge, you're okay. And then going into the merge, you got a little stop and go. Southern end of Dan Ryan's heavy, but it's about normal. That's what I would call it going up to Bishop Ford and the Dan Ryan. As you get to Jane Byrne, though, it's a little bit better. Skyway and the toll road look good. So does the Borman. And heaviness through the I-65 or the Borman construction area right there by I-65, both directions. Especially coming back this way, westbound, basically from the toll road to the Borman there on I-65. The traffic is brought to you by Napleton River Oaks Honda, proudly serving Northwest Indiana with superior customer service. And what do you have in terms of the weather? You guys heard that. Like I said, that, you know, if you're over 50 and you're a guy and you got to take 2 P's in the morning, on the first P you were all right. On the second P, you were like, gosh, man, the world is just the sky is throwing lightning bolts, and what was it my mom used to say, that the angels are going bowling. That's what it was. I used to hang out a good portion of my young life over here at Plaza Lanes as my mom bowled, my dad bowled, all my aunts and uncles bowled. Rex Trenching was the name of it. Anybody remember that? My Uncle Kenny Rex would fly that plane around and land it over at family reunions. It's like, that's what would happen when he turned his plane engine off. And even as a kid, I'm like, so he's got that lawnmower engine inside a plane, and he just drives around, and then he crop dusts for people, and then he just like lands it wherever he feels like around Lake County. Yeah, that's what he did. Anyways, I forgot where I was. Oh, Angels were bowling last night, and the Angels may bowl again tonight, as you have a possible just localized burst of heavy thunderstorms. So look for a few lightning alarms to go off tonight. And I don't know if we'll be able to get in high school softball and baseball. I think so. Maybe some of the later Little League and softball games that do it by nighttime, they may have a little bit more trouble getting their games off. And weather is brought to you this morning by Laborers Local 41, of which I am a proud alum. Let's go to Big Rich on line 2. Big Rich, how are you, man?
Good morning, Jed. It was good to hear a little bit of dead air because you've been slacking on that lately.
You know, with both Ryan and Jimmy here, they like to run it a little too professionally, and they're like, come on, come on, come on. I go, what's the hurry? My name's Dead Air Deedlow, so it's 5 seconds of dead air, and I'm going to eat on the air because it's my radio station. But anyways, go ahead.
I really have nothing this morning. I started on the toll road, and I have to be at a job site on Lakeshore Drive, so I'm going old school today and taking the 41.
Oh, the old way. Why? The scenic route.
The scenic route, yeah. So I didn't want to pay the $5.70 or whatever it is, $5.20 at the toll road. So I said, let's see some scenery. So the reason I am calling, though, is I'm surprised how creative you are that you still haven't gotten Chuck over at Cayman Harley to have a WJOB motorcycle. Maybe you can use, and then might as well go all in and get a sidecar and, maybe let Ryan ride in it with you and just drive around town promoting the station.
Well, just so you know, that has been brought up in a conversation between Chuck Kreisel and myself. And my wife was reasonably pleasant through the conversation. And then the moment that Chuck Kreisel was not in that conversation, I got an earful like you wouldn't believe. So I don't know, for some reason, Cal Harley or Harley Davidson, maybe the main company or whatever, they would probably do this. Have some sort of a loaner or something that I ride around for a while and promote it and bring it up here and stuff. But for some reason, that was shot down by my wife and daughters. So I thought maybe I would just do it the secret method and manipulate them and maybe just buy like a used bike that was like, hey, don't worry about it. I'm just going to have it. I'm just going to tinker around with it and then kind of come at it from the side. Because if we go directly as some sort of promotional deal with Cal Harley, for some reason that wasn't flying at home.
Well, after what you just told me, I think you should stick with a skirtster then.
Let's go to Carl on line 4. Thanks a lot, Big Rich. Carl, how you been, man?
Doing all right. So, to your earlier comments about politics, unlike the print media, you get everybody's opinion all in here, and it's a wide array of opinion. So, honestly, without JLB, I wouldn't feel nearly as informed when it comes to what's going to happen next Tuesday.
Hey, you wouldn't know nearly as much about my back hair problem either.
Come to mention that too, though. Yesterday you said something about it's a no sweater day, and yet the first thing that jumped to my mind is, what about the perma sweater that he's got?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I've always had a hairy back, but as I get a little bit older, it really is. I mean, it's like the wife rubbed the lotion on my back last night because it was hurting a little bit, and she's like, this is like running my hands through the front lawn. And I'm like,
Wow.
well, thanks for putting.
And that's the one that loves you.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
I'm sorry. So you called in for some sort of policy discussion, I'm sure.
Well, no, just like I said, with print media, you get whatever Doc Ross and his buddies want you to hear. And they're more than happy to let somebody go on record and call people who disagree with them diseased or the malcontents of the region, when clear, open, fact-based debate is the best medicine for any sort of political issue and make it understandable for everybody. If the train is such a wonderful thing for our future, then it should be abundantly obvious. There should be plenty of statistics that could not be refuted in that end. And if it's not, then it needs to be said out loud. And if there's something going on where there's some shenanigans, for lack of a better term, that needs to be brought to light.
All right, here's the deal. Let me take this on. And Carl, for the most part, you and I, with our Catholic backgrounds and, kind of like, it's services first. I don't talk about that much, but Carl and I have had, I guess, off the record conversations about what service means, and it means a lot to different people. Carl has his level of service. I feel like I'm doing mine right now, and I won't go into that. But most of the time, we're fairly aligned. I want to tell you that I think that in this situation, I need to stand up for my brethren at the Times, okay? Because I did work there for like 5 years, learned how to run a newspaper, had a, pretty deep kind of informal internship, I guess, even though, I was getting paid for a period of it. And I have found that the ones that are left here, there's other ones in the past that I thought had definite agendas, and I wasn't here. There's not a lot of agenda seeking at the Times of Northwest Indiana. That is my opinion. Now, as an organization, they see the benefits for a huge public works project of the train, and they have been proponents of it, and then they do endorse a certain candidate, so they've stepped into the fray at times, and I get that. But when you get down to the individual reporter level, I think the world of Mark Chase. We're going to try to get him on. Bill Dolan, I think, does a great job. They've got the best business writer in the state of Indiana in Joe Pete. And I think they got the second and third command, Mark Chase and Joey Battistoni, are rising young leaders that I would be very proud to work for, to be honest with you. So in the individual level, I don't see that. And I get it a lot from people that are anti-Times. Hammond Maritime McDermott comes in and bitches about them a lot, and so do a lot of other people bitch to me about them. But I worked there. I know these people, and I don't see the same things that other people. Maybe sometimes people get bad coverage, or they have coverage in a direction that people don't like, and they're going to be mad at the Times the rest of their life, and they're going to cancel their subscription. Well, that's the price you pay when you say what you think should be said. So what's your retort to that?
Well, I know I see what you're saying. Yeah, probably on an individual level, there's immense amounts of integrity there. But the facet I'm saying, and this was not necessarily as critical as it may have come off, I can come on here and have my opinion. Matt can come on, Verley can come on, and they can be as divergent is. Whereas the Times, you're going to get one writer's opinion, that could be divergent. But the chance for rebuttal, the conversational piece, I think, that's what makes this more dynamic.
Okay, now we're getting back on the same, you and I aligning, because if you ask me, everybody's looking for the reason why newspapers have suffered. Oh, print media this, print media that. And then a lot of people are asking themselves, like, how does radio still at the local level still thriving across America? National level, Chicago, New York, and all that's a little different story. But in that local level, how is it still thriving? And I say the same thing. I'm like, it's interactivity. That's what it is. radio is still interactive with the local audience, and so is Facebook, and so is Twitter, and so is radio. We're still talking to people, and like I'm going to the food bank today. We're in our communities. Print media does not have that. You got Al Hamnick writing an article. It shows up tomorrow in the paper, and then that's it. There's nobody talking back and forth. They try with tweets and stuff. So you're getting on the right track. In my mind, people want to go back and forth. And that is the weakness that comes inherent in print media, even on their websites. But in terms of the integrity of the people that I have met and that I have dealt with ever since I worked here in the mid-'80s, I don't see the amount of agenda that other people see, especially politicians. You're aligning yourself with politicians when you start ripping on the Times like that.
Okay, understood.
You know, and believe me, because here's my thoughts, Carl. I think it's your responsibility to seek your news these days. And that is a personal responsibility. It's not my responsibility or the Times' responsibility to give you unobstructed views of what's going on. They're going to give you what they see, but you can get 5 or 6 other angles. And if you're really interested in a topic, then it's incumbent upon you.
Well, and to add to your point, this is an evolution in journalism and in information sciences. You know, you go back to 1940, you have Edward R. Murrow, the only American in London, describing how the Blitz is working. You know, people are getting bombed by the Germans, and that was it. Pretty much you were one source in it, and that source had to be credible. Nobody was out there in 1940 looking for the German point of view on things to be counterbalanced because, it was just not done.
And think about the responsibility that Murrow had. He's telling an entire nation what is going on one of the most historical moments of the entire 20th century, and that's the Blitz of London, right? I mean, think of that. Think how exact he had to be, and he had to worry about his own safety just because he had that much responsibility. What a great thing to bring up, because that's, to me, if you read some of his old reports, they're like poetry.
True.
Hey, man, we talked about this, but I got to take some other phone calls. Thanks, Carl. Right, it's good to hear your voice, my friend. 219-845-1100. My name's Jim Diedlow, host of JED in the region. You guys need to stay right where you're at because we got to do this.
John Salzader, candidate for North Township Advisory Board. I am fully qualified, experienced, and will bring a new face and new vision to your township government. Elect John Salzader, Salzeider, on May 8th. Democrat.
Approved and paid for by the committee to elect John Salzider.
Is Indiana better off than it was 40 years ago? I'm Father Mark Kurowski, a Democrat, running for state senate. It's time for a new direction in Indiana. It's time for a state senator who fights for regular Hoosiers, fully funded and safe schools, for union labor, for roads and bridges, for a foster care system that works. We have the money in the rainy day fund, and it's pouring down. If you think it's time for a state senator who will fight for you, then vote Mark Kurowski for state senate on May 8th.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mark Kurowski.
On May 8th, vote for Democrat Andrew Silvestrowitz for Lake County Clerk of Circuit Courts. Andrew is a qualified Democrat and has 12 years of experience as a councilman in Maryville at every facet of government. Make your vote count with Andrew Silvestrowitz for Clerk of Circuit Courts. Paid for by committee to elect Democrat Andrew Silvestrowitz.
I am Andrew Silvestrowitz, and I approve this message.
Giovanni's in Munster, Northwest Indiana's premier Italian cuisine. Come enjoy our expertly prepared veal, steak, seafood, and other Italian delicacies. Experience over 20 years of entertainment with our piano player Jack every Friday and Saturday evening in the lounge. And join our VIP or e-rewards on your next stop in. Host your special event, shower, or celebration in our back room. Giovanni's is located at 603 Ridge Road in Munster. Call 836-6220 to make a reservation. Check out our menu at giosmunster.com.
With the weather finally starting to warm up, that also means ants and other bugs are coming. Rapid Pest Solutions is local and family owned and does complete residential and commercial pest control solutions. Get rid of those pesky mosquitoes and take your yard back this summer. We have custom programs to address your specific needs. Check out our website at rapidpestsolutions.com. Call Rapid Pest Solutions at 219-922-2000 and mention you heard us on WJOB. You'll receive 25% off your first visit. Got ants? Get Rapid.
You guys want some dead air D'Lo or not, huh? You just got some. It's just part of the game. And if you want to be part of the game, you just put up with it. And if you don't like dead air, then, I'm sorry. And if you don't like people eating on the air, that's part of the game, too. What also is part of the game is that we love having you guys call in and talk to us here at AM 1230 WJOB, and we'll take some phone calls at 219-845-1100. A number of you folks have texted and so forth. I am wearing a sport coat today. I'm going over to the food bank. Jeff Strack is I'm going to be his guest at a food bank thing. I don't know how public that is, so I'll just leave it at that. So I thought I'd put a sport coat on, and typically I just put a sweater on and put the sport coat in the car, but it's too warm for a sweater. So at some point doing this show, and I actually thought of doing it without a shirt on, but then again, that's way too much back hair. And, although, you know what, I guess if I just turned around, it would look as if I'm wearing a sweater. So I guess you have that going for you. What do you want, Ryan? It's officially waxing season? I'm pretty sure that I'm never going to wax my back unless it's in Vegas, and you know what happens in Vegas, it just kind of stays there. Anyways, let's take a look at traffic. 294 around the city looks pretty good. 80 going east and west looks good. 294, I'm sorry, is bad from the Cicero on up to almost to the Stevenson because of that earlier accident right around 82nd Street northbound, and that's got it backed up. She's going to O'Hare right now. You got a little bit extra time through that corridor. And then 80 going east and west looks good to Bishop Ford. 115th on up to, say, 87th or 76th is tight. So it's about normal right now. You know what it's like. You get to, you come over to Steel Bridge and you look over to your right. What's the name of that golf course for the life of me? The one on the old landfill. Lost Marsh and Harborside. Harborside off to your right. You see the big gate there, and you're like, well, I'm not playing there because I got to work, and it's raining. And but once you get to the Dan Ryan, it's moving along pretty well. Skyway, Toll Road, Borman, I-65, US 30, and Klein Avenue all moving along pretty well. Traffic brought to you by Napleton River Oaks Honda, proudly serving Northwest Indiana with superior customer service. Hey, have you written a book? Learn how to get it published and potentially sold online and at bookstores. Call Page Publishing now for your free book publishing kit, 800-470-4833. And the weather it's kind of gray out today, and maybe a little bit of grayness tomorrow morning, and then it should get sunshine. But we may have another wave of thunderstorms here in about an hour. And if not, it should just be a gray day all the way until the evening, and then we might have another heavy thunderstorm coming through. And then tomorrow morning, clouds and thunderstorms maybe a little bit early, and then it turns sunny and a pretty nice day at a high in, let's say, 70, 72 in that area, depending where you are. And Saturday, a high of 75, partly sunny and nice. Sunday, not such a nice day, cooler with a few showers and a high of 74. Hey, we'll take all your phone calls. Just stay on there. Dave Gladish, how you been, man?
Good morning.
We haven't seen Gladish for a while. Dave Gladish is a board-certified attorney. You see him on the billboards all around. Get Gladish, and he's a civil trial specialist and personal injury. And he comes in, and we just run through stuff in the law. And there's plenty of stuff to get to. So I know there's some people waiting. Gladish knows enough to just kind of hang out with me. We'll get to those law topics in just a minute. Oh, Gladish, let's take some phone calls.
Sure.
219-845-1100. Mad Mac has been waiting the longest, and he's going to make a joke about his cellular minutes, and then we're going to go on and talk about something. How are you?
No, I'm going to make a joke about me maybe having to take a pass on breakfast after that comb on your hair. That's going to be a rough one getting out of my head, man. That's not good. That's not a good look, Jimmy. You shouldn't talk about that. That kind of hurts.
How about talking about you driving me to work every morning, doing 4 things at one time? Is that a lie?
That's the same as the guy in the center of the what do you call it? The center ring at the circus. You pull off miracles, baby. There's nothing to it.
It still was one of the, I mean, I always had to close my eyes. You're talking and eating and shaving and changing the radio station at the same time. You're not looking forward. That was I can't watch this.
Captain Crunch.
Whatever, man. What's going on in your world?
So, hey, what's the chances of your wife voting for Donald Trump in 2020? I know that answer. It's 0. That's the same chances of you bringing a bike home with her permission. So you got a 2-car garage, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you got that little corner in the back. You never cleaned it up. So you set it up. So you got like a lawnmower sitting there, something else sitting there, and then you all of a sudden, like today, you drape a sheet over it. And you make enough room on the right-hand side against the far wall. Just go get a bike and then slip it in there. Explain it later. Apologize later.
Hold on a second. What can you do? You know what? Hold on. Let's get another opinion on this. Dave Gladish was associate. My wife and he were associates for like 11 years, and so he's well associated and knows my wife really well. Dave, how do you think that goes the moment she lifts up that sheet?
I think she's going to hold you in contempt of court.
What's she going to do?
You could be jailed.
Get rid of you. What's she going to do? Fire you from the radio station? You're the only guy that knows where all the chicken wire and duct tape's at, man. Come on.
Well, you've got a point, and I'm just trying to work this out. I'm just trying to figure this out, how I can have a Harley Davidson by the end of the summer. I could have one tomorrow and go down to Chuck Kreisel and say, Chuck, slap a little magnet on there, and I'll give you guys promotion like you wouldn't believe. And we've already had this discussion. So
you could blame it all on Chuck if you get a WJOB sticker and put it on the tank and say, look, I had no choice. And then just get a used one. There's used ones out there for $4,000, man. Beautiful. People get them, ride them for like 500 miles, and then they sit in the garage with a sheet over them, just like you're going to do.
I didn't mind talking about this in the 6 o'clock hour, but
it's a little late.
It's possible that she's awake now and listening, so I think we're done with this conversation. Thank you. 219-845-1100.
You didn't even mention your daughters, I think, are against it, too. So you got 3 ladies against you. So
it's my daughters who are the worst. Gladish, when I was living in L.A. and Berkeley, I rode a motorcycle everywhere. I mean, like thousands of miles. I even rode from L.A. to Berkeley a couple of times. I mean, I love riding a motorcycle, and I know how to ride a motorcycle.
And I've traveled out there, and it's different. You can travel on the divided line. Mm-hmm. People expect motorcycles. They see them on a regular basis. I do a lot of litigation and fatalities relating to motorcycles in Lake County and Porter County, and I did one in Tennessee. People in this area do not look for motorcycles. They don't see them. They see them half the year, and they just looking for cars. So motorcycles are great, but you have to understand there is a danger there. And every time there's a collision between a car and a motorcycle, the motorcycle loses.
With my wife having you fill up her ear like that with that stuff, and he's done that before. Gladish isn't on my side on this one. And then her Alexis went to Bishop Knoll with Mary Lynn Tolan. You guys may remember the Tolans. The Tolan was one of the assistant coaches in the basketball over there at Bishop Knoll for a long time. He moved to Cleveland. But Mary Lynn is the head of organ donations in the Indianapolis area. And so when this topic came up in front of Mary Lynn, she's like, oh, well, I just got to tell you that you probably have some decent organs, and I'll probably be marketing, I'll be harvesting those at some point. My wife, she's like, just that's it. Don't ever bring this up again with me. So.
Well, we see it all the time. I mean, people turn in front of them, and then the motorcycle does not have time to stop, and they get T-boned or they turned into. It happens often, and it's terrible. And people should be more cognizant. We see even the state of Indiana has gotten involved, and they have the bumper sticker that says motorcycles are everywhere, trying to get people to be cognizant of the fact that they are out there. But it's a terrible situation when a car meets a motorcycle.
Can I give you a further manipulation possibility here?
Sure.
She is a judicial officer on Tom Stefaniak's team, right?
He likes to ride motorcycles. He's a motorcycle
Thank you.
guy.
And for like bonding, hey, I'm going to go out riding with your boss.
That's much safer actually, because if you ride in tandem and if there's more motorcycles together, it is a safer ride.
Way to go, Gladys. You already come up
I
with
try to be a neutral here. I try not to take a side.
No, there was a long time that like Alexis and Gladys are in the same office, and then Gladys would be like, "Hey, man, meet me, and we'll do something." And then Alexis like, "Where you going?" "Oh, I'm gonna go meet Gladys and a couple other guys." And she'd be like, "Okay." I go, this is just like building team morale with your associate. That's what this is all about, right?
Exactly. Whatever works.
Whatever works. Let's see how Chuck's been. Chuck, what's up, buddy?
Hey, I was busy texting MX about our next cartoon. Let's see, Waxing, Vegas. It'll be great. You'll love it.
Yeah, that was just an under joke that only a few people are going to get. So don't explain it. All right, just kind of take it. What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're gonna do this bike thing, I do agree with Get Laddish though. The people around here just don't respect guys on bikes. But if you're gonna do it, you got to do it big. Get it painted blue. Get an old school microphone on the handlebars or something. Get a nice custom WJOB bike. You can ride that around, and everybody will know who you are.
And then, how about a little stand for my GoPro that is hooked up to my
GoPro, so
phone, and I could
Right.
I could live video the ride all around the
We can
region.
we'll put some antennas on the back, and you can get Wi-Fi. It'll be great.
Sidecar for Ryan.
Yeah, a sidecar. There you go. That's another cartoon right there. Jim and Ryan with Ryan in the sidecar.
Hey, Chuck, I really appreciate those suggestions because I think we need to build strength for the next phone call. But what else is going on?
No, I just wanted you and Carla talked about objectivity and interactivity with the newspaper, and I just wanted to hit those 2 points because, as far as interactivity goes, a little known secret is that everyone that is anti-train is banned from the Times Facebook page. Legitimately, everybody that speaks ill of the train has been banned. I got banned, and you know me, I don't generally curse anywhere, especially on Facebook or on the radio, but I got banned for just joking about being banned. And so, there's a whole idea about interactivity. Well, there's a reason nobody speaks ill of the train on the Times anything, because we've all been banned from that. So it's kind of like if you just stop taking calls from anybody anti-train on the radio. But as far as objectivity goes, I mean, one of the things that, I consider you a journalist, I consider myself a journalist and also a commentator. One of the things that happens is when you get too close, you lose objectivity. I mean, we saw that clearly in the Buntich case where everybody was saying, oh, well, he was a nice guy, I really liked him. Everybody lost objectivity about it. And when it comes to, you can say what you want, but one region is the Times is one region. They've completely lost all objectivity because they literally, and I recall being at a Munster Town Council meeting where they said we have to give one region a $5,000 check to get a seat at the table, basically saying they run the show, and if we don't give them a check, we don't get a seat at the table, we don't get a say in the matter. So now you've got the local media not reporting the story. They're literally running the meetings and reporting their meetings. They've lost all objectivity, in my opinion.
So you think they've lost all objectivity on the train?
And a lot of the bigger projects in the region. I mean, and you have to realize that one region is the Times. I mean, I've literally sat in meetings where the Times covered their own meeting. They were the MC of their own meeting and covered it and we're interviewing people. It's our meeting. You lose all objectivity at that point.
Well, that's different. They're not holding a public meeting. You know what? You're coming in. I don't know if Verley's set yet or not, but we need to pick this up because what do you expect out of the Times? They're going to report on it. And they've already taken a public position. They've given you their interest ahead of time. Okay.
Right.
But at the reporter level, and this is where I disagreed with Carl, and I disagree with the mayor sometimes. I don't think Bill Dolan or Joe Pete or Mark Chase have a horse in the race. Honestly, I think they are journalists of integrity, and I need to stand up for them because they're part of my craft. It's like Gladys standing up for other attorneys who are under fire. I don't think it's warranted. You can have the issue of them supporting a public policy project, but that's what newspapers all across America do. Hey, Chuck, I got to go. I got to take some more.
I know you do.
All right,
We'll
talk to you.
later.
Thanks a lot. We're talking about getting a motorcycle, and I got a picture here, a local guy. I'm not going to say who he is. His wife's selling the motorcycle. It is a Skirtster, and we're trying to figure out ways that I might be able to get this under the radar. Glash, what are you laughing about?
I'm not involved.
Yes, you are. You just supported my topic.
I gave you options.
I'll be going to New York City on Tuesday for a streaming media conference, and I'll be staying with my daughter Jeannie, who is online too. Jeannie, how are you?
Hi, Dad. I'm good. How are you?
Okay. Are you enjoying this discussion about motorcycles?
I'm letting you live in your fantasy world of thinking that you have any chance of obtaining a motorcycle.
Gun or a motorcycle?
This is not a democracy here.
You know how many people in the family just laughed because they know that I act like I'm in control here in the studio and so forth. Then I go home and I'm just like a sheepish guy being bullied by my wife and my 2 daughters. Why not, Jeannie? Why can't I get a motorcycle?
I think Mr. Gladish over there presented some very sound reasons as to why you should not.
Jeannie,
and I think for many years you've tried to convince us that you should get one and have done so unsuccessfully. I think you have a very nice little Vespa in the garage that is enough for you.
Yeah, scooter boy. I'm scooter boy driving around the region. Everywhere I go, I pull up to the wheel down the street, and all of the waitresses think I have a DUI because that's only guys who drive around on Vespas. You know what I mean? Jeannie, Jeannie is about halfway through her accelerated nursing in New York City. Jeannie, have you seen any motorcycle accidents in your clinicals?
You know what? I have not yet, but I haven't been in the emergency department or anything yet, so I'm sure that'll be something that we see. So, and I would hate for you to be that person who it's on the table and organs I have to give to someone else.
Well, that's a pretty bad visual also. I mean, partly because of the back hair and then partly because of the sad nature of the situation. Big truck, by the way. Hey, tell us what part of clinicals you're in right now?
I'm in peds. I'm just finishing up my pediatric clinical rotation. And then we'll move on to summer classes soon.
And you will get out when?
In December is when we finish school.
Then what? Then do I have to call Fesco over here at community, or call your a relative that is very high up in the Franciscan organization to see if they want a top quality nurse, or are you going to be working at one of the New York City hospitals?
Well, we'll see. First, I have to pass, the big exam to become a nurse and get certified, and then I'll probably stay in New York for a bit of time.
Gladish, any comment on that?
$1 million question.
New York's a great city. It's hard to say no to New York.
What are you running for office here, dude? Just Gladish knows Jeannie well. What? Come on, give me your opinion of her staying in New York versus moving back to the region.
Well, I mean, everyone's got to decide for themselves. Do they want to have a higher, faster-paced lifestyle like you do in New York? Do you want to have a little more? I love where we live, quite honestly, because for me, living 5 minutes from the expressway to be able to get in downtown Chicago or go to a Bulls game or a Hawks game and be there in 25 to 30 minutes, it's a great location. As well as we've got 2 airports where we can fly just about anywhere in the country, nonstop flights. So I really like where we live. Would I want to live in New York City? I would not. I prefer where we're at. So, but everyone's different. Everyone's going to make a choice for themselves.
Jeannie, you don't seem to me like a city person when you were growing up. And here you are. You're just loving New York City. I couldn't have predicted this.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think it was a big adjustment period when I first moved here. Well, I moved here with my boyfriend, so that was kind of a different dynamic. And I didn't have any friends here. It was all his friends and his family. So it was definitely very hard at first. New York just smells bad and is really gross most of the time. But I think I've definitely grown to like it, and I really like the area that we live in now. But anyways, this conversation was not supposed to be about me. This conversation was supposed to be about me notifying you that a motorcycle is not in your near future.
All right, I've got a text that comes in here, and this is just not helping my case. 708 plus with texting, it's more dangerous than ever now to be on a motorcycle. And sure. I agree with that. I agree with that analysis. If there was any of the arguments that have been put forth, texting is the thing that worries me the most right now. Jeannie, I will be seeing you. Is your boyfriend going to be in town?
Nope.
So just you and
At
me,
least
huh?
it'll just be you and me.
All right,
Because
man.
I know you are secretly doing a happy dance about.
No, I don't. I like having your boyfriend around because he'll go out and he'll drink with me. You know what I mean? I'm gonna.
Yep.
I will be, and I'll be staying. I'm gonna stay at their apartment. So within their apartment, there's probably 25 bars with just within a few, a few blocks. And I'm a big fan of like having a couple pops and then walking and not driving or getting on public transportation. So just be prepared that when I get out of the region and I can walk and drink, that's just what I'm going to do. You okay with that?
I'm all right with that.
All right, Jeannie, I can't wait to see you. Talk to you. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye. 219-845-1100. And Gladish, what season is it?
Election season.
You're correct.
This is Judy Mervan, daughter of State Senator Frank Mervan, and I'd like to tell you why my father is a strong choice for state senator. He fights for what's right for working families and champions legislation that upholds our democratic values. His strong voice stands up for workers' rights and creates and protects good-paying jobs. His commitment to working people earned him endorsements by many unions. State Senator Frank Mervan fights for the highest quality of education for our children because they deserve the best. He's a strong advocate for our teachers, which has earned him the endorsements of all teachers' associations. He's a strong voice for equality and justice for all our citizens. He fights for families to have the health care coverage they need. My father, Frank Mervan, has a strength of experience and is in touch and involved with all our communities. He is a state senator you have come to know and trust to build a better future together. Please vote for State Senator Frank Mervan, paid for by the committee to re-elect Frank Mervan Jr., state senator.
John Salzader, candidate for North Township Advisory Board. I am fully qualified, experienced, and will bring a new face and new vision to your township government. Elect John Salzader, Salzeider, on May 8th, Democrat.
Approved and paid for by the committee to elect John Salzider.
Theo's Steak and Seafood sets the standard of fine dining excellence. Delicious USDA prime meats and steaks, along with the freshest seafood in the area. Celebrate your special event with friends, family, and associates in our private dining room that can seat up to 125 people. For information, call 838-8000 or theoshighland.com. Also visit our other restaurants, Prime Steakhouse, Umi Sushi and Lounge in Crown Point, and Ted's Family Restaurant in Calumet City.
At Corellis Roofing, we recognize that our employees are our biggest asset.
I don't know if I picked roofing or roofing kind of, fell on me. My name is Phil Youngie. I am a project manager here at Corellis Roofing. I came in here as a roofer. Here I am 20 years later, managing million-dollar projects. If you're willing to put hard work in, willing to do your time, the opportunities are wide open here at Corellis Roofing.
If you're willing to work hard, we have a place for you at Corellis Roofing.
There's a little bit of dead air for your enjoyment there. Brought to you by Dining Solutions. If you're looking for a Mother's Day place to go and have a great brunch, you need to go to Wicker Park. It is still the best brunch for Mother's Day around. You better get it early, or you just all of a sudden you call up there and you go, wow, we have one opening at 9:12, and then now we got one at 3:15. All right, so I've done that before, and you better get your better get it in there soon. Hey, let's take a look. Traffic, 294 around the city, looking good. All the way from Cicero on up to the Stevenson, it's bad, though. So you got extra time. There was an earlier accident. It still hasn't cleared out entirely. And so allow extra time to O'Hare. But going to Cicero, you're fine. 80 going east and west looks good. To Bishop Ford, getting pretty stock solid, 115th up to 87th. After that, it does open up a little bit on the Dan Ryan. And going into Jane Byrne is not that bad. Skyway Toll Road, I'd go to the Skyway Toll Road today and then get on the Dan Ryan. It won't be that bad. They're looking good. Earlier problem on eastbound Borman between I-65 and the toll road. In that construction area, had a stalled car or something, and it looks like that's been moved off. So people are moving through there. I-65 looks good. US 30 and Klein Avenue are all moving along well. Thanks a lot to Napleton River Oaks Honda, proudly serving Northwest Indiana with superior customer service from Torrance in Lansing. And this section will be brought to you by Rush Radio Surgery. And if you need a second opinion, rushradiosurgery.com. Give them a call. They're waiting for your call right now. and they have the top-of-the-line diagnostic machines, and they have some pretty top-of-the-line, very narrow radiology. We can go right into very specific areas, and it's some of the best research in the world right there on the west side of Chicago. Dave Gladys is with us, and we're taking on all comers. And I'm going to take Ryan. I got time for one more phone call. Who is it? Let's go to Pat on line 4. Hey, Pat, what's up?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Hey, I can pick you up all the way down to Dwight, Illinois, on the radio.
Really?
Yeah, I'm on my way down to Peoria. I got a real easy run today. First off, I have a question regarding the bike, but you know you're getting old when the barber or the hairstylist can't find your hairline, your neckline, when she's trimming your neckline.
It's all one. All he does, you know what they do at this point? They just pick an arbitrary point and then they shave up, and then the rest of it's just like its own sweater carpet.
Yeah. Have you? I know you worked construction at one time in your working career. Have you ever driven a truck, Jed?
You know what? For a while, and I hate to admit this because I was a laborer 41. I would drive a lowboy once in a while with,
yeah,
and that was just, I was in a family construction business, so once in a while you got to do it. I've driven the lowboy, and it was very, to me, and I drove a bus for South Lake Mental Health for a long time, and I'm with you truck drivers, all right? I know how difficult it is.
We could go on for hours about the pros and cons of having a bike, riding a bike. But you know what? Riding a bike. I rode a dirt bike when I was a kid, and I stopped riding when my daughter was born and all of that, and I put on me and my band gear and everything. But I got a bike after child support was done, and all of that stuff was my daughter grew up, and I got a bike to treat myself. I got a nice used Harley Road King. Driving a big bike, it's the same skill set driving a truck. Thinking out ahead, always thinking somebody's going to pull out in front of you. You just have to be aware and be careful. You know what I'm saying? It's just like driving a truck.
That's an excellent analogy, but it also reminds me of the times when I did drive a motorcycle a lot, and that there is a certain level, it's a higher level of anxiety than driving in a car where you have a certain amount of, protection around you.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, wow, great, it's beautiful being on the open road. Even the open road, one big pothole, and you got a problem. You're never not on alert. Pat, thanks for the call, buddy. Thank you so much. Talk to you. All right. Hey, Zeus, how are you? Jesus, how are you?
Great. Thanks for taking my call. A couple of things. One, I'm a problem solver. I got a solution for your, how did you say, get it under the table or slip it by?
Manipulate.
Yeah, manipulate, that's a better word. I like the discussions you had also about, was it Dr. Logan?
Dr. Lauren Brown?
Lauren Brown, yeah.
Yeah, the best.
I can relate. I don't have a great bedside manner, but I'm a problem solver.
Okay, hold on a second. Now, is this the Jesus Ortiz that is running for a position?
Yes, it is. Thank you for the segue. I want your vote.
All right. Well, first of all, you're running right now, and we're going right into the election. So, we tend not to, we bring. If I'm going to bring you in, then I got to bring in the other ones. If we're going to talk about,
wasn't going to mention that. You brought it up.
I brought it up, so that's on me. But so how do I get it past my wife to get a motorcycle?
Oh, it's pretty easy from my perspective. I'm biker trash, man. From one down, three up. Since I was 15, I stole my first Harley. Don't feel too bad though, because it was already stolen when I stole it. But here's the thing: is buy it for me, and you can borrow it any time, man. I'll keep it polished for you.
So really, the structure of this relationship would be that I would buy a bike off of somebody, and then keep it at their house. So
yeah, there you go, something like that.
You know
something
what?
Like
you
that.
are the second person this morning to offer that. MX,
oh, really? I didn't hear it.
MX, no, well, MX didn't do it on the air. He's offered to me many times to say, yeah, just buy a bike. You keep it at my house. You can come over anytime. And Jesus has offered the same thing. I'm gonna run
Now,
that. I'm gonna run that by my attorney right here. Thanks a lot, Jesus. There you
Here's
go.
the-
No, I gotta
here's
go.
one
I
that-
gotta go. I gotta go. Hey, Gladys. By the way, thanks for standing up for my wife and my daughters on this one. Hey, listen. One of the weirdest turns watching television last night happened.
Giuliani is known in political circles as being the attack dog, and he was out on the campaign trail early on for Trump, and he was the guy that was very aggressive, and he would take on people, and he's just a tough guy to deal with. And he goes on the air yesterday and starts making, they're not admissions because it's not Donald Trump or Cohn making these statements. It's somebody who is claiming to be the lawyer on behalf of or affiliated or a surrogate of these individuals. And basically, Giuliani was letting some things out, saying that the payments in reference to Stormy Daniels were made by Cohn, but then they were reimbursed to the law firm as retainer fees. Retainer is where you pay an attorney, and they usually put that money in their trust account and they bill off that. So there's a question there is, okay, were these payments, were they an attempt to disguise what they really were? And is there tax consequences that were not followed through on by Cohn? Were they trying to get around campaign finance laws? We saw this with Buntage, where they had the discussions and say, well, you pay it this way, and that way it won't raise any eyebrows as to the payments. So you have that issue. And then now they're claiming also through Giuliani that this was a loan to the campaign that he repaid, so therefore it would affect any campaign finance laws. But clearly that's not the intent behind the campaign finance laws, that if there was a loan to the campaign that's eventually repaid, it has to be disclosed, because people could loan individuals large sums of money to run for office, which it takes large sums of money to run for office. And then if they win, they get back. If they lose, they can waive it off and so forth. They get their candidates out there, and that's not allowed. So statements by Giuliani.
Hold on a second. You still have that statement by Giuliani set up? He's going to set it up, and we're going to watch it, but go ahead.
These statements are changing the dynamics of what was being said before by Trump. Trump said, hey, talk to Cohn. I don't know anything about it. Cohn's not saying anything because he's probably going to go to jail, probably going to lose his law license over this for sure, because clearly there are questions as to his character in reference to ethics, and types of ethical issues result in attorneys either getting suspended, reprimanded, and or losing their law license. So he's got some big problems ahead of him. That's why you're not seeing him on television or having any statements being made. And with the statements by Giuliani, he's known to say things off the cuff and say things that are not always appropriate. So did Donald Trump and or his handlers say, Giuliani put these things out there to see how they float with the public? If I was the attorney involved, I would not be saying these things. I think he's just making it worse, because now you're opening, Pandora's box in reference to all these issues, in reference to how the money was paid. Was there fraud? Was there basically a decision between Trump and his attorney to try to funnel this money and hide it and disguise it as something that wasn't? So there's a lot of issues that were just raised yesterday, which continues to make this into a bigger and bigger story.
Okay, so let's break it down. Let's look at the chronology. The first thing is, did Donald Trump have an affair with a porn star while his wife was pregnant?
I think the evidence now, even from statements from Donald Trump, demonstrates that that is a true statement. And I think he actually made a statement a month or so ago where he basically had acknowledged that there was some type of relationship. I don't think he acknowledged it was sexual, but some type of relationship.
Okay, so let's follow the chronology next. So then the chronology is, this thing kind of lays dormant.
But they know it's out there.
I have all sorts of 8th grade jokes about what I could put in there, but I've been warned. First of all, my landlord's standing right there, so I don't want to do it. So nobody talks about this, and then it comes up. Donald Trump has a possibility of becoming president. Comes up that Stormy Daniels is going to come out and tell her story, and then they say, well, let's give her $130,000 to hush her up. Okay, that seems like the next part of the chronology, correct?
I would agree. There was an agreement because there was actually an arbitration clause as part of that agreement. It is in the courts, so that agreement does exist. There's no question as to whether or not there was an agreement. There was an agreement, and I don't think there's any dispute as to what amount was paid as part of that contractual relationship to keep her from disclosing that relationship.
Okay, so we have the issue of, was there a hush money situation going on, right? And then the next major event in all of this is, and I lost my train of thought all of a sudden. The next major event is this? All right, so
Is it a binding agreement between Donald Trump and Stormy? That was one of the issues that came up because they're saying, hey, we want to be able to break this because there was undue influence, there was threats of violence against her and so forth. So we want to avoid this agreement, return the money, because I think if she writes a book or, goes on a speaking tour, she can make a lot more money than $130,000, especially since he's president now. So they have litigation pending in federal court whether or not the provisions of that agreement are enforceable, whether or not there's been a breach of those agreements. But in litigating those aspects of the case, that has exposed Cohen to what he's facing now with the investigations and so forth, with his office being raided, confiscating materials and so forth. So there's no question, especially if these were disguised as retainer payments, that he's got issues coming up.
All right, so let's go on to the next issue. If Michael Cohen says, all right, I just paid this money out of the goodness of my heart in an election campaign in furtherance of getting Donald elected.
And that's the allegation that was floated initially. And then even Donald Trump said on the plane, if you recall that interview, he's standing there and he says, hey, talk to Michael Cohen. That's him. Those were done by him. I don't know anything about it. Now it's really changed. It's really morphed into something else.
So is it morphed into that because once they realized when they said that, then it's like, well, Michael Cohen gave you $130,000 in the middle of an election season. That should have been reported on your FEC filing.
Well, also might be that Michael Cohen is saying, hey, I need to cut a deal because I have a potential of losing my law license, my livelihood. I could go to jail. I don't want to go to not only be a convicted felon and lose my law license, but spending time in prison is not attractive to anybody. So how can I extricate myself from this situation? Is he talking? Is he trying to cut a deal? And is there scuttlebutt out there that now they got Giuliani out there muddying the waters even more in hopes of, sinking any type of agreement that Cohen's trying to cut with prosecutors?
Well, to me, the biggest glaring thing here was the federal election laws. And that was one because
there could be tax implications here too.
Tax implications also. And part of that was, look at $14,000 or 20, whatever it was, over 5 years for Buncich that wasn't reported, and he's in for 15 years. So this is $130,000 if it's deemed an election contribution that was not reported or disguised. I can't even remember to get 130 years because it was like $1,000 per year for Buncich, and it took him.
And who's facing it? Is it Donald Trump facing it? Who knows? Is it Michael Cohen facing it? Oh yes, he's facing it for sure because he's involved in a conspiracy to hide the money and transfer it. So clearly he's involved. Is it somebody else on Donald Trump's staff that was involved with Michael Cohen and Trump really didn't know about it? I mean, there's so many issues here. So if you're Michael Cohen, what are you going to do? You want to get yourself from losing your law license. That might be done already. Stay out of prison. Let's hope for that. If you're Michael Cohen, that's what you want. So how do you mitigate your loss here? Start talking.
Dave Gladish comes in and just kind of goes through. We'd love to have some more time with this, but Purdue Northwest today is up. Gladish, your former associate, will be giving the commencement speeches on Saturday, and I know, as the husband and as the law mentor in a way for Alexis, we're both pretty proud of that.
Well, I'll tell you this. She's got an excellent story to tell. I know the story. I think that the students and parents that go to the commencement will enjoy it, and it's going to be inspirational. She's somebody who, worked herself from one level to a much higher level, and great for her. And she's an inspiration not only to women, but also people from Hispanic heritage to work themselves up into the higher echelons of society. So great for her.
And Gladish is no small part of that, to be honest with you, as he was very instrumental in helping her grow her law. So I know she can't come on here and say thanks, but I'll say it for her.
She's great.
All right, man. Hey, thanks a lot, Gladish. Hey, guys, that'll do it. Purdue Northwest today. I don't believe I'm hosting this, am I? I don't think so. I think Richard Rupp is back in the saddle. But it will be a very busy Saturday at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. We've got a number of students. Richard Rupp is the next guy. I see Chancellor Tom Keon is here also. And so stay tuned for Purdue Northwest today. I will be out at the food bank, and they've got a big announcement today, and I'll be bringing that to you either on a Facebook Live or I will be maybe I'll just save it for tomorrow. All right, guys. Stay tuned. Purdue Northwest today on the voice and face of the region, AM 1230, WJOB, and 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana.